Hi everybody. Today we will dive into one of the most fascinating mysteries of the Bible, the secret that Moses kept for more than 3,000 years. Do you think you know everything about the Ten Commandments? Is it just a list of rules carved on stone tablets? But this is not the case. Each commandment hides a deep meaning that reveals the very essence of human existence. However, surprisingly, many of these meanings were not only forgotten, but also actively hidden. In this video, we will reveal what has been hidden for centuries. If you're ready to find out the truth, stay tuned. Let's start with what happened on Mount Sinai. It wasn't just a list of rules presentation ceremony. It was a moment when humanity was on the verge of a spiritual revolution. Moses ascended Mount Sinai and spent 40 days and 40 nights there. 40 days. Not just one day, not a week, but 40 days. Do you understand what this means? This means that Moses received more than just a text. He received deep cosmic knowledge, which took a whole month and a half to transfer. When Moses came down from the mountain, holding the first tablets in his hands, people greeted him with worship of the golden calf. It was a real shock to Moses, and he couldn't stand it breaking the tablets. Why did he do that? Because people were not yet ready to accept this knowledge. They couldn't comprehend it. Then Moses went up the mountain again and stayed there for 40 days. It was a confirmation that the knowledge he had gained was so important that it had to be passed on twice. This time, people received not just the commandments, but the key to understanding the structure of the universe. And here's the most interesting thing. The 10 Commandments were divided into two categories. The first 4 dealt with man's relationship with God, and the other 6 dealt with the people around him. However, no one has told you that this is not just a division, but a real mirror reflecting the essence of human existence. The first commandment is, "Have no other gods before me." What does it mean? At first glance, this means that one should not worship idols. However, if we look deeper, we will see that we should not have other competing priorities. Our value system should be centered around the truth. The second commandment is, "Don't make yourself an idol." This prohibition concerns material symbols, but it also warns us against turning these symbols into an end in themselves. We should not confuse form with content. The third commandment, "You shall not pronounce the name of the Lord in vain." This is not just a ban on swearing. This is a warning against using the power of words without deep intent. The word is a tool that can create reality, and it should not be wasted. The fourth commandment, "Remember the Sabbath day." This is the only commandment that concerns time. Why? Because God has given us not only space, but also time as a tool for recovery and reflection. Saturday is the day when we have to stop and realize what we have created. Now let's move on to the second group, the attitude towards people. The fifth commandment, "Honor your father and mother." This is the first commandment that concerns people, and its importance should not be underestimated. It serves as the foundation for the whole society. Respect for those who gave you life is the foundation for all other values. The sixth commandment is, "Thou shalt not kill." This commandment does not just forbid taking life. It also warns against the destruction of human potential. Every human being has endless possibilities for development and realization. The seventh commandment is, "Thou shalt not commit adultery." This commandment presupposes not only sexual morality, but also a prohibition against violating trust in intimate relationships. She warns against betrayal in an intimate relationship. The eighth commandment is, "Thou shalt not steal." This commandment means not only a ban on the appropriation of other people's property, but also a warning against the appropriation of other people's time, work, and ideas. The ninth commandment is, "Thou shalt not bear false witness." Although it concerns lying in court, in fact, it prohibits the distortion of the truth for personal gain. Truth is sacred. The 10th commandment says, "Thou shalt not covet." This is the only commandment that concerns the inner state of a person and not external actions. It teaches us that God does not want us to be slaves to our desires. Our mind should be free. In the background, you can see images of ancient numbers, stars, and numerical sequences. Have you ever wondered why exactly the 10 Commandments exist? Why not 7, not 12, but 10? In ancient numerology, the number 10 symbolizes completeness, and a new beginning. This is 1 plus 0, which means the unity of God, the source, and zero potential, the formula for transformation. However, there is a deeper explanation. If we count the letters in the Hebrew original of the first 4 commandments and the last 6, we get a mathematical ratio that reflects the proportions of the cosmos itself. The ancient rabbis were convinced that the Ten Commandments are not just a set of ethical rules, but a matrix on the basis of which all reality is built. Each commandment corresponds to a certain level of consciousness and energy center of the human being. The first commandment represents the crown, the supreme consciousness. The second, third, and fourth commandments reflect the spiritual levels. From the fifth to the 10th commandments describe the material and social aspects through which the spirit manifests in the world. This is not just a theory. It was an encoding of knowledge that allowed initiates to better understand the structure of the universe through the structure of the commandments. The question arises, why was this knowledge hidden? The answer is simple. Knowledge is power. People who understand the true meaning of the Ten Commandments have a deeper understanding of how human consciousness works. They know how morality is formed, how society functions, and how a person can free himself from the bonds of desires and fears. Such people become unmanageable when conventional methods of control fail to deter them. When the Bible was translated into different languages, much of its content was lost. When early Christianity was standardized at the Council of Nicaea, many texts were rejected or rewritten. Knowledge was divided and fragmented, which did not allow people to see the whole picture. Medieval priests kept the Bible in Latin, a language that was incomprehensible to the people. This was not just censorship, but depriving people of access to the keys of their own consciousness. Even today, most people do not know the true meaning of the commandments. They are only familiar with their simplified version, designed for control, not liberation. But here's the amazing thing. Moses understood this knowledge and put it into practice. Do you remember how Moses parted the waters of the Red Sea? Many people think it was just a miracle, but no. Moses was aware of the principles underlying the commandments. He understood that the wall of water was a metaphor for overcoming internal obstacles. He knew how to turn fear into action. When Moses struck the rock with his staff, water flowed out of it. This miraculous act demonstrated the principle of the third commandment. The word, combined with intention, is capable of creating a material reality. 40 years of wandering in the desert was not just an exciting journey. It was a kind of initiation. During this time, people had to go through 40 levels of understanding, mastering one new level every year. Only those who were born in the desert and grew up with this knowledge were able to enter the Promised Land. Moses understood that true knowledge does not come through proclamation, but through experience. Therefore, he created conditions in which people could go through the transformation themselves. What does this mean for us today? This means that the Ten Commandments are not just an ancient system of control, they're a practical guide to freedom. This is a map that shows how to build a life filled with meaning, integrity, and true freedom. The first 4 commandments teach us the relationship with our higher mind, with our truth. And the last 6 explain how this truth should manifest itself in communication with others. This morality is not based on fear of punishment. It is based on the awareness of a unity with the world, and our every action finds a response in this unity. When we violate these principles, we are not punished from the outside. We disrupt the harmony of our own nature, which leads to imbalance, suffering, and conflict. However, when we follow these commandments, we do not receive a reward from someone else. We just live in harmony and wholeness, and that in itself is a reward. That's what Moses was hiding. Not fear, not control, but freedom.